YouTube, ¿qué pasa? We're three simple men making our way through the galaxy. You know us, you love us. It's Tom, Ryan, and I. I'm sorry, Tom, Ryan, and Mike. We
Hold
are
on.
on Wars, Season 2, Episode 3, titled Children of the Force. And we're talking about kidnapping children. YouTube, listen, this is the episode. Don't flag us. Uh guys, how are
So,
you? And what do we think about the episode?
well, I'll go right into the quote that it starts off with. The first step to correcting a mistake is patience. Um, and of course, this is an episode which I think is rare, starts off not just exactly where we left off, but actually like 30 seconds to a minute pre where we left off, which was interesting. I don't know if you guys caught that.
It's just
Yeah,
right off the bat, one after another. It just continued. It felt like he continued the story
But it
without.
replayed, like, so the last one ended with them landing,
flying in,
getting
talking
off
to
the ship,
Lauren.
and like walking away. And then this one started with them flying in again. So it was kind of interesting that they did that. I thought it was an interesting choice.
Mhm.
Um, but we do very quickly get the reveal of what, we were kind of suspecting uh in the last episode, that one of the clones is not one of the clones and is in fact Cad Bane in disguise, and he gets found out because of his green blood. Um, a
So
quick
that's the new development right there. I guess like, hey, what does a Duros species blood look like? It's green. It looks like icy ecto cooler.
Yeah, because you see Rex and I forget the trooper's name, but yeah, they're hanging around. They're like, "Oh, hey, something's up here," and yep, green blood on the
And
floor
you
of the
see
ship.
Ahsoka just like, well, why isn't the trooper limping who's walking away, not saying a dang word, you know?
and a chase ensues when Anakin realizes what's going on. And at the same time, Cad Bane kind of gut punches Ahsoka and jumps into the nearest ship and takes off. Did anyone notice during this thing the reference to A New Hope?
I was thinking more of Attack of the Clones. Like, this isn't the first time we saw Anakin jump on a ship and try to go after a bounty hunter.
Well, so I got another quote when Cad's taking off. Anakin calls Yularen and says, turn off the hyperdrive rings. He's like, you got to shut them down. You got to shut them down. And Yularen says to one of the clones, no, lock them down. Sorry, no, lock them all down. Hurry, which is a throw forward to A New
Yeah.
Hope when C-3PO
The garbage.
is yelling at
The
R2D2
trash
and
compactor, yeah.
he says, no, shut them all down. Hurry. So I caught that as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, and it's funny because Yularen kind of has like a little British accent too, and C-3PO kind of has a little British accent. So I
Can I
just
just say this about your Lauren? I love the character, but it's like, what a dick. It's like Anakin's telling you to do something, and you're just like, I'm sorry, what? It's like,
Like
if,
what? Like what's happened so quick since I last talked to you in the hangar? It's like,
I mean, wouldn't you just be like, all right, the Jedi says do it, you do it.
well,
That was
and
on you,
there's
Lauren.
nothing, nothing ever goes right, and they have quite the dynamic relationship. So, of
All
course,
right.
you know what's gonna lead off with a question versus complying with orders. So,
Oh yeah.
so Cad unfortunately gets away, and uh, with the holocron, and we then get, basically learn that his new task is to track down four um, younglings, force sensitive younglings, to deliver to Darth Sidious on Mustafar, which I believe
Planet we'll see later on.
go
is
forward. Like,
first reference of Mustafar, right?
Also dress up as a Jedi with the cloak and all that stuff. Fake it till you make it, folks.
And then we do get an interesting moment where Yoda and Mace kind of say, well, if the Jedi Council might be able to sense where these younglings are, and then instead of the Jedi Council, we see Yoda, Mace, Obi-Wan, and Anakin using the Force to sense. So I thought that was kind of a messed up line, I guess, because it wasn't really the Council doing it. It was
3 + 1.
Yeah. Is Obi-Wan on the Council now?
Yep, Obi-Wan's on the council.
Yeah, so
They all have MasterCards. Anakin has Visa.
Bum, bum.
so that was a little interesting. And then we see another collaborative Force move to oh, that's a little later on, but so they are
Yeah,
too late to save two of the younglings.
Yeah, I guess it was Gleansome, Rhodia, Naboo that they sensed, and yeah, one
Well,
the
I got
child
the
of
sense of
Gleansome.
they kidnapped the child way before they kidnapped the child of Rhodia, then going to Naboo.
Yeah,
Because
I think when they were sensing, it seemed like Yoda was like, "Oh no, Lee Anslin." He even said it. He's like, "The child from there's already been taken. He's now shrouded by the dark side."
yeah, they sense whatever
Yeah.
Rhodia was
not tempted by the dark side.
maybe we have a chance, and then once Anakin sensed Naboo, but he sensed the future of the kid screaming, so they kind of had the Anakin's foresight.
Mm.
They were able to get to the kid quicker in Naboo compared to Rhodia, where Obi-Wan got there, but unfortunately, Cad Bane got away.
Yep. And Cad Bane had an interesting device that
Yeah.
we kind of saw used, but not really. He's just like, this will calm you down, and seemed to just confuse the mother and
Oh yeah, and then
yeah.
you see Obi-Wan just put like, Jedis don't carry blasters,
Yep.
and then she's like, oh, I fucked up. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah,
Also,
I think
I guess I want to go into my hot take right off the bat. Like, granted, I know the intent is different, but the Jedi are just like, we got to save these children. They were kidnapped. They're force sensitive. What do y'all do? You just take away the kids from their family. You just do it in a different way that's non harmful. But really, is there any other difference besides that? You're almost doing the same damn thing.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting hot take, and I mean, it's something that I think might get explored in the future. Maybe I'm trying to remember, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing that they indoctrinate these children at young ages. So it uh,
mhm.
definitely an interesting thing. I mean, one
Then
could
it
be
gets even worse because you go with the what ifs. It's like, all right, what if they send them to the Jedi? It's like, are they going to be trained as a Jedi? Is the war still going on? Are they going to be trained as Jedi or going to be Jedi slash soldiers?
well, and when they capture Cad Bane on Naboo and take him back and interrogate him, which was what I was getting at with the other form of collaborative force use, where all three of them are Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Mace are doing like a Jedi mind trick at the same time. We do get uh, Cad admitting that he'll take them to the holocron and the children. And as they're leaving, Anakin states, "Oh, well, we need to, or I think, should we report, or I guess Palpatine had reached out and wanted an update." And Obi-Wan was like, "This is not."
This is an internal affair.
This
Jedi,
isn't military; it's a Jedi internal.
go
And
back to go back to your drinks or go back to your politics.
Yeah, and Anakin, of course, steps in and says, "I disagree. We're generals now," which gets back to the fact that, like, that blurred line between are they Jedi, are they generals, are they soldiers, are they
Peacekeepers, yeah.
keepers? So, which I kind of jumped ahead to it a little bit, or moved ahead kind of quick there to get back to what you were just saying, Tom. with the children. It's like, yeah, are they going to be what the Jedi used to promise, or is it just and we've seen we've seen younglings die in this war. We've seen, or young Padawans die in this war, I should say. And we know what's going to happen to a lot of the younglings also in the future. So it's definitely
Yeah, it's funny that Anakin wants to save younglings.
yeah. Um
If you know, you know.
so they go off to the trap um as Anakin tells them, you could be walking into a trap, and of course they're like, Mace Windu's like, Anakin, of course we're walking into a trap.
There's
Uh
always a trap in Star
yeah.
Wars. End of
Mhm.
story. No matter what, it's like, that's a trap. I know.
That's a trap.
And
It's a trap.
we get a little interaction between Anakin and his shadow daddy, Palpatine. Uh Patent pending, I'm coining that. Um but that's
Shadow
basically,
Daddy.
I
I
mean,
like
that
that.
is, he's like reporting to him. He's,
He works in the shadows. That's
yeah,
what he does.
Anakin's an unknowing spy.
He's
Uh,
he's the Phantom Menace.
that's it.
Bum, bum.
But we get another interesting moment. Anakin and Ahsoka are working on Cad's ship and discover that uh, by looking at the fuel logs, they can determine what planet he had gone to, and that's where they discover that it was Mustafar.
There was also volcanic ash, by the way, too.
Yep. The clue that Ahsoka finds. But another quote that I noticed, Ahsoka's surprised that and impressed that Anakin thought to look at those logs, and he says, "Old Jedi trick." Like he's got a lot of old Jedi tricks up his sleeve. But he says, "Old Jedi trick. We used to try. We used, sorry, it's an old Jedi trick that they used to track down smugglers." When were Jedi like smuggler hunters? I'm curious. I feel like there's like a little time period there that love to know about. Is that just like something they
I don't know why, but
And by old Jedi trick, does he just mean something he did one time with Obi-Wan before the Clone Wars started?
I'm gonna say, like, I've never heard of this before. But if I'm gonna pinpoint someone who might have done it, why does my money? I'm just gonna throw it out there. Money on the line. Mace Windu. He just giving me that energy of like, yeah, I'll fucking do it.
Maybe. I mean, it's just, it tracking down smugglers doesn't necessarily sound like Jedi peacekeeping. We've really never had,
Unless they're rescuing someone,
unless
maybe.
they're rescuing someone. Yeah, we've only really had one encounter with smugglers for the Jedi right now. The droid smuggler who stole R2.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
That's pretty much it, right?
I think so.
Haven't met Han yet. We haven't even met the Millennium Falcon yet. Yeah, so not a lot of experience with smugglers. We've had pirates. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting line. Um, I don't know. And then we obviously we get the very, very cool. Well, we get the two things. We get this weird floating Cad Bane base thing, with the holocron on it, and we also get uh our first look at Mustafar.
Hmm.
which looked, I mean, going ahead and kind of looked identical to the base we see later on down the road in episode 3.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like the layout was identical. Then, of course, you have the droids trying to be like, "Oh, what if this kid doesn't survive?" Palpatine or Darth Sidious, sorry. It's like, yeah, I could care less about. This is for an experimentation, and I think he like threw out the term like slave conditioning or
Yeah,
something like that. So it's very interesting. It's like, oh
Maybe
yeah,
it's just pretty much just said, fuck them kids.
yeah. It's like, oh, they're gonna be my spies, and it kind of reminds me of like he's trying to become like Varys from Game of Thrones with spies everywhere. So or his little
Yeah.
bird.
What I was kind of thinking was like he was gonna do something where they were just gonna be like in a room using the Force. Like it didn't sound like it was gonna be okay, we're gonna like send them out. It sounded because he like mentioned like visions and stuff. So I'm wondering if he was just basically using them as little Force batteries to plug into like some sort of like Force sensing
Or
thing.
was this a glimpse of what he's trying to do with uh
Somehow he returned.
what's that?
Somehow he returned.
No, no, more of the like the ninth brother, seventh sister, acolyte, all that stuff.
Like the Inquisitors, like on his
Yeah,
own Inquisitorius squad or whatever it is.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it leads me to a question like where what he's trying to do. If he had to be involved with it, with completing what his intention was, would it actually worked as a hologram, or would he have to do it actually physically in person?
Well, he had these droids that Mike mentioned that I think was our first look at this type of droid, which I don't know what they are. I didn't look it up, but I wrote down that they were like nursery droids. They
Mhm.
literally looked like, little like baby nursery
She is healthy, but for some reason she chooses to die. We'll get that later on.
so yeah, that was an interesting that and the we're kind of skipping the little trap, but that was fine. The fact that this Mustafar base also has like a self-destruct button is kind of gnarly. Just
Yeah.
turn off the gravity like
Yeah.
reduction and fall into the lava pits.
Hmm. Well, that's what we need to do to burn the evidence and leave no trace. So he was, yeah, he was pretty smart, but he wasn't expecting that Anakin and Ahsoka would track it down too. Because I mean, even when Palpatine was asking, "Oh, what have you like? What did you find?" It's like, "Oh, nothing. Yeah, like no trace to Darth Sidious." So I mean, yeah, it's pretty smart to summon there and see like, "Hey, Jedi, what have you found on your end?" So I can talk
I
to
think
Bane
it
and
was one of
or
those moments where it's like Sidious was like, I can foresee Bane getting captured,
Mhm.
but I can't. He never foresaw that they could detect and triangulate where the children are. That's
or
where it
using
was like, okay.
or using
Oh,
three Jedi to break Cad Bane and fall.
oh my goodness, look at the time. I gotta run. All right, so just clean up everything. I gotta go. You
Now
never
we have
here.
no besides Yoda's statement at the end of Phantom Menace. Right now, there's nobody knows of Darth Sidious or even of a right.
Obi-Wan is the only one.
Yeah, because Dooku told him when he got captured.
Oh, that's right, and he hasn't repeated it to anyone, or maybe he
Uh,
has.
I think there would be a conversation where he may Obi-Wan would have told the captain
Yoda and Mace Windu, yeah,
because
he would have.
remember we're in the Clone Wars now where it's like Anakin's a Jedi Knight, Obi-Wan's a Master, so he'd probably tell all the other Masters, you got to spill the tea. Like, hey,
Anakin, because Anakin, was kind of onto something, right? He said it to Palpatine. He was like, I don't. He's like, I think there's someone
Someone else, but it's
pulling
not
the
Dooku.
strings here, but I don't think it's Dooku. And it's kind of like, and that's where he's like, oh, any idea who it might be? And he's like, no. And but that was kind of an interesting.
my boy, have you heard of the word of the dark side? We
Well, the
have.
question is Anakin like sensing something like because he's around Palpatine? Like, why does, or is there's
I
no.
mean, it's much of a, let's say, like a little curveball towards Sidious slash Palpatine. I mean, we've established it way too many times in this podcast where it's like we know who it is, and it's just more of like,
I
well,
think
if
I don't.
he's self aware that there's another threat, this complicates things.
Mm.
So now he's got to get into that mode of, oh, dare I say, he's got to start grooming them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and he already is, right? Because he's got him
This is
trained to like, hey, disagree with two Jedi Masters, and be like, hey, we need to go inform him. It's important, and they kind of blow it off as like, all right, fine, you do it, and don't question it. But he's, you know, information is key. The more info the better, and that's what Palpatine's definitely a master of.
Mhm.
I mean, it's. I think there is a title of an episode we'll watch later on, but it is truly the hidden enemy.
AKA Shadow Daddy.
I love you, Shadow Daddy.
So we do see that Cad Bane lured Anakin or Obi-Wan and Mace into a trap. Pretty impressive one too. A lot of guns and lasers. We don't really see how they get out of it, but they do.
Yeah, I mean, we see, Obi-Wan and Mace Windu are deflecting. They destroy some of the things where they can go get across, get the holocron, then they escape before the door closes. But then you see Cad Bane hiding behind the wall panel and using an escape pod to bail. So he did his job. He'll get paid, and then we see Obi-Wan, Mace Windu escaping with the holocron, and from what they can tell, no duplication of the list. The list is intact, and for now, the children are safe.
Well, did Cad do his job? Will he get paid?
I feel like he would. I mean,
I mean, he didn't deliver the holocron.
You're
That's
gonna
all.
get half. You're just gonna get half,
And he,
sir.
and he and
You
he
did
only
half the job. You didn't complete it fully, but
and
well,
not
he did
only did
bring.
he only deliver 2 Jedi to Mustafar instead of 4, he also led the actual Jedi to Mustafar and got the thing destroyed. I
yeah,
mean, if I'm Palpatine, I ain't paying him.
yeah. If Cat Bane's just like, hey, I kidnapped 2 children, just give me what I think is fair
Yeah,
because I didn't complete my
then
complete
then
job.
the kids got lost. I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think he could care less. I mean, it's just like you'll get
The
paid. So
job was not complete.
What's he gonna do? Is he gonna threaten Palpatine / Darth Sidious to pay him?
Like literally, he can just
Even
like,
mentioned earlier, like they said we can tell that you're not afraid of us, but you're definitely afraid of whoever hired you.
a good cop, bad cop interrogation. Yep.
oh yeah, and then just remember, Palpatine / Sidious, he can just be like, all right, well, Cad Bane's just Darth Sidious side's like, oh, I'm gonna put a bounty on your head. Like I'm gonna have the whole Republic looking after you. Sidious, go down to the underworld. All the bounty hunters, like, I got 5 million Republic credits right now for his head.
Mhm.
He can do whatever he wants. He can access both. I guess I'd call it legal means of the Republic, Jedi and all that things. He can just go to the criminal underworld, like, hey, if you just bring me back his head, I'll throw an extra 2 million in as well.
That's it. Send vengeance
Well,
after him. You got a lot of options.
well,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then just going back to what you said, as like I thought it was funny. It's like when Anakin was reporting back to the council, it was like one of those movie scenes where it's just like, oh, you got good news. Like they're like, all right, you do this, and then you come back, you do that, and we'll come back and we'll talk, make sure we succeed. It's like, so you saved the children? Yeah, we did. Did you find any evidence? No. It's like, oh, that sucks. You kind of didn't really do your job. Like, I don't know. You got Cad Bane? Like, no. So I guess we both kind of screwed the pooch on this one, didn't we, huh? Yeah, well, let's not talk about this. Let's just keep it moving.
I wonder why they don't send a bunch of people back to Mustafar to just kind of
I mean,
out what's going
you would
on.
think it's just like you use the Force. You can, I mean, there's the Jedi Quinlan Voss who can just sense like everything that happened. Like he can just touch things and just
Oh,
get
yeah, psychometry or whatever it's called.
yeah, like you have this ability where you can do that. You just choose
Well,
not to.
We did see Ahsoka use the Force in a kind of a cool way when they were trying to find.
Where the kids were.
Yeah, Anakin's like, which way, like, which way they come from, and she kind of just centers herself for a second, and
I think it goes back to your quote too,
yeah,
patience. If you just
patience.
slow your heart, slow your mind, and just pay attention, trust the force,
that's
it'll
it.
lead you to your way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
Well, anytime.
have
Well, I
nothing.
guess if someone is resisting a mind trick, not only will you need one Jedi, but you need three Jedi to break someone's mind. So, and seems like Obi-Wan was speaking from experience. Like, yeah, we could destroy his mind in the process. Like, who cares? We gotta do this. So,
Unless it's Samuel L. Jackson dressed up as Mace Windu, who uses the tone of language that he uses in Pulp Fiction, you give up the information right away. Other than that, three Jedi is at best.
yeah. So, I mean, I think this is probably the first time I've ever seen someone break from a mind trick. Because I mean, see Qui-Gon try to use it on Watto. It's like, yep, mind tricks don't work on me. And yeah, good to know that
Well, that's the question.
there's a way to break them.
Did he break?
Well,
I mean, he led him to a trap.
I mean, who knows what if those voices weren't in his head any longer. I mean,
It could be possibly it was a trap that he planned but did not intend to use.
I don't know,
well,
man. I mean,
he's-
it got it. What was his other option? Sit in prison, say no, sit there, and then stay in prison, be arrested.
I just love how
Like,
they were all debating about it. I was like, should we do it? And Anakin just right off the bat, do we really have a choice? So come on,
well,
let's go.
Cad Bane is quite resourceful, and I guess he's prepped for anything and everything that can go wrong. I mean, we see last episode. I mean, he was ready for anything. Whatever the Jedi threw at him, he found a way to get away with it. So I mean, I think I don't know if he'll ultimately get paid for this, but I think Sidious would be wise not to put a bounty on him because he knows he can be useful for other tasks. So
I mean, so far with bounty hunters we've seen, as much as I love Jango Fett, but Cad Bane, he's pulling in at number one.
oh
Mhm.
yeah, easily top bounty hunter so far. All right, Mike.
Well, that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for some more Clone Wars content. Adios, and may the force be with you always.